Am I crazy? Oh wait, is it the full moon? Hello, I'm Fractal Future and welcome to the Vanguard of Light. So, we're here helping energy sensitive people embrace their gifts, realize their gifts, and enhance their gifts. But let's talk about this full moon thing. So, you get the feeling of like, man, am I crazy or what's going on? The abilities are coming, they're going, it's all just being nutty. Check if it's almost a full moon, because that is notoriously what happens around the full moon. So when the full moon happens, a lot of spiritual energy comes down, like pours down, right? So, and then there's different full moons. Some are more powerful than other full moons. So what can happen with that is that, so you got all the spiritual energy pouring down, right? That can be awakening gifts, especially if you're already energy sensitive, right? Other people that you consider norms are like, nah, I don't feel anything. They're going to be still keyed up. I mean, emergency rooms, like hospitals and stuff, spike around full moons. So it's like people are picking this up, right? So there's like this amp of spiritual energy. So if you're empathic, you're going to be picking that up, right? And then all of a sudden, if your abilities get amped up, so you're going to empath it even more of something that's already magnified. So it kind of gets this kind of can create this roller coaster. Not to mention it turns on gifts. So sometimes when a gift turns on, it's like this amazing of like, oh man, this is awesome. But then also sometimes the gift turns on and it's kind of like, whoa, wait, what is this? And then if you have a gift that then gets amplified, that was running really good of like, yeah, this is my gift, it works good. And all of a sudden it just goes haywire. And it's like, what the heck? Why is this not working, right? And when we live in the sea of doubt, like, most people are like, oh no, that energy stuff, I don't believe that, that's not real, whatever. It is, it's very much real. And then when you have the full moon kind of throwing a monkey wrench into stuff, can make it even more feel like, man, I can't trust this. This isn't real. This isn't, what? And it's not true at all. I mean, you just got to check. It's like, is the full moon coming? That's a lot of times it's the ramp up to the full moon and and there's still like a ton of spiritual energy happening after the full moon passes, but it tends to be easier. It's like, it's the buildup that can throw you nutty. It doesn't have to, I'm just saying, but sometimes it can, to where it's like, it feels like you're going crazy, but no, it's just the full moon. And sometimes it's just, you gotta just hold on and be like, okay, it's gonna be a little extra nutty now, knowing that sanity will return. It will calm down. So there's a couple things to do. And it's really dynamic because the full moon throws a monkey wrench of where like you could be about to get an ability and the full moon helps you realize it, right? So now all of a sudden that feels great. And then the full moon goes and all of a sudden you lose the ability and it's like, so it's after the full moon, right? So the full moon felt awesome, but then all of a sudden it's like, where'd it go? Or it could be you have this ability that you're kind of trusting, you're kind of believing in, and then it goes haywire. Now the full moon feels crazy. Or the full moon causes this ability to feel crummy. Right? So it could be that could be happening. You could have it where you're just like, you start empathing a lot of people and you start getting all these thoughts and crazinesses and like, oh my gosh, and it's this and that. And you're like, I didn't feel like that before. I didn't believe that before. And a lot of times you're just picking other people's stuff up because it's amped up. You didn't know that you're picking up, but you're like picking up on like super speed and like super strength of like, you're like really getting people from way out there and you're pulling it in and it's just not yours. So a couple things you can do. One, if you just like, I just can't take it, check out the videos here. They're called spiritual 911s. They will like not short circuit it, but they're so intense of like kind of getting you back to spirit, but you'd have to do them kind of 24/7. Like 2 or 3 days, which there's a huge bet. I mean, oh my gosh, you're going to have your spiritual gifts leap like crazy if you did that. But it is a really brute force of like constantly doing it, like doom. So it's an intense option that will kind of ease you through the full moon, and at the end of it will give you like you'll start really turning on abilities, right? So spiritual 911s are an option, but it's not like you do them for 10 minutes and you're gonna be all better because you're in that rush of the full moon. So you're gonna be doing them 24/7, but then the act of doing them 24/7 is super gonna boost your gifts. So there is the benefit of that. Other stuff to do is a lot of it is just a check. So you can just check of like, is this yours? Like really just check in of like, this stuff that I'm feeling, is this mine, right? And this is like from axis energy transformation, you can be like, return to sender. Like if it's not yours, like if you feel like this is mine, right? And it's like, wait, this isn't mine, just return to sender. You're kind of picking up stuff that you don't need to, and it's probably on, amplified. So it's just like return to sender. So that's one of them. You can just be like, you're feeling it, just check. Be like, okay, getting crazy thoughts. All right, return to sender, right? So that's one thing you can do. Okay, so another thing you can do, and this one's way more intense. The other ones are kind of like mitigating what's happening. This one is more of like capitalizing on that there's all this spiritual energy and it could be bringing up stuff for you, and it's to kind of dive in to whatever you're feeling. So kind of you're getting crazy thoughts, crazy feelings, really to get in touch of like, okay, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? What's the color of it? What is it? Does it have a hum? Does it have a sound? Does it have a vibration? And like figure what that is, and then almost like you're leaping into it, you're leaning into it. You're like, you're just gonna push into it, right? And it's kind of like, it's an uncomfortable feeling, but the uncomfortable feeling is a feeling you're not willing to feel, right? Because it's uncomfortable. You're like, we shy away from like, oh, that doesn't feel good, right? But that means that's something new, which now you're changing the whole dynamic. You could be changing that whole pattern because you're adding new energy of a willingness to go into it and actually like dive into the thing. So it's kind of like you're using all this extra spiritual energy as like a boost to like really kind of like shoot into that feeling and hold it. Like not like hold away from it, but hold it, like pulling into it, going into it. And that can cause a big awakening as well. So it's a way to use like kind of like that uncomfortable, I don't feel good, or this is crazy or that, and kind of get what it feels like, where it's positioned, and really jump into it and like kind of like drive, like use an intention and really drive into it. Trust me, when you have that feeling, it comes up and you see it, you'll understand what I'm saying, of like diving into it. And just keep holding, keep pushing, because you got all the spiritual energy to have a big awakening, because that is a stuck place that you have a lot of boost to then push through it. Another thing you can do is with kind of like an observation, a little bit of like a meditation. So it's to kind of not shut down, but kind of like shut down external stuff, right? And go inwards and see like the pictures and the words that are happening, and they could be coming in like at hyperspeed. And so you go inwards and you kind of see it playing out and what's happening. You just be observing of it, like kind of like in a meditation of like just really understand that, okay, everything's going to be amped up. Spiritual energy is coming down. We're not buying it as like it's my thing, but we're just going to be like, okay, let's just watch what's happening. Let's get the dynamic, because that's really because it's amplifying how kind of like your system works, how your unconscious is wired. So it's going to give you, it doesn't have to give you it in that moment, but it's being in the observation when it's really doing its thing to start seeing patterns, seeing what's happening. And it doesn't have to happen like consciously to see it. You're just going to be in that willingness of letting it do its thing and let it go like nutty, and just really be like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like kind of like that anticipation, excitement, but of like, let's just see what's going on. Let's kind of like the lean in, or you actually get a feeling and you're leaning into it. This one, you're just kind of being really present to like, okay, go after it. Go after it. Let me watch what you're doing. Let me hear what you're saying, but not buying it. You're going to be, kind of impartial observer of just like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? That's another way to kind of proactively use all the spiritual energy that's coming in. And then finally, it's just really just accepting of like, okay, there's a lot of spiritual energy coming in. Stay your course, like before it got all amped up of like, okay, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to pay attention to the info I'm getting. I'll stay my course. I'm not going to make any big changes, radical changes of like, oh my gosh, this is totally horrible. And that is like, okay, probably could be just full moon. Good, I got the info. Don't got to go crazy with it. But like, okay, could be full moon. Not to mention there could be astrological things happening at the same time, which in the full moon is going to amp you up to be able to feel this too. So it's okay. Just be like, this is happening. I'll pay attention and wait for the full moon to hit. And then it subsides. And then you can kind of get like where the waters start leveling out. And then you can kind of be like, okay, that, idea, that thought or whatever, how does it look now? And it's like, nah, it's not that big a deal. It's like, okay. Or like, oh, wow, that's a great insight. I'm going to act on it, right? But it allows you to kind of start seeing, it will help like on an unconscious level almost, to where you start seeing how you're wired and the ways in which you can kind of really manipulate that and really get your boost and your next level by just realizing that the full moon's coming. It's going to amp things up. It might be all nutty and crazy. And if it's a good one, just, hey, just roll with it. Be like, yeah, full moon, let's do this. Or be like, okay, things are going to be nuttier, but that's also going to reveal stuff. It's going to make it, because before, when it's kind of all unconscious and you can't tell it's happening, it's kind of a little more stuck. But then it's going to get it all wild. So at least it's a chance to like, okay, I'm going to observe this. So you can either, so a couple things. One, spiritual 911s. You can do this hardcore and heavy. You're going to have a massive boost after, and you'll kind of ride through the full moon times. Second one is like when you're pulling in a lot of stuff and then feel like, or it feels like it's yours, but you want to check. It's like new stuff. You don't normally think that way. Just see if it's someone else. And if it is, just return to sender. And you don't even if you don't know, just be like, okay, whatever this is, return to sender. And if it goes away, it wasn't yours. And then you can start picking up of like, oh, wow, I really am an empath. And then the third one is where like you get a, royal crummy feeling, right? And you're like, I'm going to jump into it. I'm going to kind of want to map it out of it to where you like get the size, shape, color, vibration, right? And then jump into it. Like I'm just going to press into it and like, I'm going to get what you are. And then finally is the one kind of more of a passive observer of let it do its crazy and then watch and just observe of like, okay, you're not buying it as real, right? We don't buy it as real. We don't make any massive changes of like, oh my gosh, I saw it was this. We stay our course. We observe it. We take it in. Could be great information. Let the full moon pass and then take those observations and be like, okay, do they still feel aligned or do they feel like they're just left field and like, oh, left field. Okay. Full moon, right? Otherwise it's like, oh, wow, I did get a boost. I did get some realizations that, hey, this looks pretty good. Let me take it. So hopefully that helps dealing with the full moon times. Know that it amps up stuff. It makes things go nutty. So it can be nutty and it can be a very positive, but it can feel crummy. These are ways to help mitigate the crummy, also capitalize on the positive and know that it's not, most likely it's the full moon and you're not crazy. It's not that the abilities are no good or they happen, they're not happening. It could be the full moon doing its thing. So until we talk again, have a blessed day or blessed night. If you like the video, click me a like, subscribe. We'll have more content like this. But until we talk again, have a great day or a great night.